Okay then, so I'm Catman from Catman's Rocks on Voodoo Radio Online, and I'm joined today by none other than Rob Wylde from Midnight City. Good morning, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing good, Phil. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, mate. Yeah, and said the last time we met up was at Road Rage Festival, weren't it?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
great. Yeah, it was
yeah,
actually that was
fantastic.
our first show of the year, actually, which was a good little warm up for the tour that
Mhm.
we're on at the minute. So yeah, it was good seeing you there. It was a great gig. We had a really great time at that one.
Yeah, I was in the crowd. You had a brilliant crowd reaction. Everyone was raving about you when you're done. Fantastic gig. Really enjoyed it.
No, thanks, mate. Appreciate that.
Yeah. So, how long have you been together as a band then, Rob?
Well, we formed in 2017. So
Mhm.
how many years is that? It's sort of 7 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I've been around for a long time. I've been doing this for you know
Yeah.
I won't say how many years, but I've been in many different bands
Mhm.
yeah, my previous band sort of came to the end of 2016, and that's when
Mhm.
basically I'd written the first album, the first Midnight City album before there was even like a band. And then I kind of like put the band, so I did it kind of backwards way really. Rather than sort of putting a band together and then trying to get a record deal, I decided to try and get the record deal first and then put the band together around it. So that's kind of what happened really.
Yeah.
And then I got the rest of the guys on board, and that's when it became, a band. That's when it became Midnight City, and we're now 4 albums in. Our latest album, In at the Deep End, came out last June.
Mhm.
So and yeah, I mean it's all been great. I mean it's in the 7 years that we've been together, we've done an incredible amount of things. The places that we've been and the shows that we played and the reaction to the band has from day one has been phenomenal. So yeah, no complaints.
Yeah. Where did the name Midnight City come from then?
Well, actually, a funny story with that. I've never named a band that I've been in, which is I don't know whether it's like a superstitious thing. I don't know, but I was at a festival called Rockingham, which used to happen
Yeah.
here in Nottingham, and
Yeah.
it was right when I was putting the band together, and I've got a friend of mine I've known for years, a guy called James Martin, who at the time was a
Hmm.
keyboard player in the band Vega, and I was telling him about the new band that I was putting together, and he was asking whether I had a band name for it, and I said no, I didn't. I tried to come up with names and was coming up with these terrible names, and then he just said, "Oh well, I've had this name for years, that I'll never use because I don't intend to start a new band at any point." But he said Midnight City, and I was like straight away, I was like, okay, that really works well with the type of band that I'm putting
Yeah.
together, and the name sort of went together with the image and the sound of the band. Um, so I kept that in my head, and then when it came to actually trying to send off some demos to get the record deal, that at that point I'm like, oh well, I guess we need a name, and that's when I basically just called up my mate James and said, look, can I use the name? And he's like, yeah. So that was it. So it wasn't actually my idea. So thank you, James Martin.
Well, it certainly works for you. So, In at the Deep End, then it's your fourth album, and it's been received very well. Mixed by Chris Laney, who's worked with Europe, Crash Diet, and Crazy Licks. What kind of an impact has he had on you then as a band with this album?
A, a really big impact, yeah. A
Mm.
very big impact because it's strange because the previous 3 albums have all been received very well and got great reviews and sold really well. Um, but it's strange this time around. We seem to have obviously we've got a core audience that will all come out to see all the shows and buy everything, but we seem to have got as well a whole new audience as well, which we didn't have on like the last album. It was just the same people coming to the shows, and even on Friday night there was a bunch of people that came to see us in Grimsby, and they just I don't know where they've been because we're very active on social media, but they just discovered us like earlier this year or at the end of last year, and and this guy just came up and he literally bought every album and every t-shirt, and he was just, I've only just discovered you, like I can't believe I'd not discovered you before. But I think a lot of that has to do with how the album sort of sounds more than anything, because like the
Yeah.
actual the style of the music is exactly the same, the band's exactly the same, it's the same guy writing all the songs. So it's not changed at all, but the actual sound of the album has, and that's where Chris kind of came in on board. And Chris, as you mentioned, has worked with some incredibly big names. And when he first got on board with mixing the album, he said, "Well, before I start, what kind of direction do you want to go in?" And we just
Hmm.
said we wanted to bring the keyboards up a bit in the mix this time, which we'd um, sometimes the keyboards are a little bit buried on some of our previous albums, so we wanted to bring the keyboards up a bit. But most importantly, we wanted it to sound as 80s as possible, because that's what we do. That's the style of band that we are. So we, just little things like the drums. They're all live drums on the album, but they
Yeah.
were re-triggered using the same kind of drum sounds that Def Leppard use, for example, and the
Hmm.
guitar sounds with the same. So it's just so 80s sounding. I think that's what people have sort of got on
Yeah.
board with,
Yeah.
and which really is what it should always have been, really, because there's no point in trying to um, sound contemporary and try to attract people that are never going to listen to your band anyway, because
Mm.
they listen to our music. If you're into modern
Yeah.
day rock
Yeah.
music, you're not
Yeah.
going to listen to Midnight City, so you might as well please the people that love that stuff. And I think that's what's happened with this album, and it seems to have kind of
Yeah.
connected with people a lot more than the others, maybe.
Yeah, I think you've reinvented that 80s sound as a band. And, I've always said, rock and roll, it's never been broken, so why try to fix it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly, mate. It's like one of those things. I mean, obviously, we're not doing anything. It's all been done before, but everything's
yeah,
been done before. There isn't an original sounding band on the planet. Everything sounds like something
no,
else. It's
uh,
just, you just concentrate on doing a good version of it.
yeah, yeah. I don't think there's a genre out there that you could create, put some notes together that's not been done before now. It's music's
Exactly,
that
mate.
old.
Yeah.
So, I've already mentioned that you're out on tour. So, how's the tour going then, Rob?
It's great, mate. We're only one day in, so it's early days.
Yeah.
But we played this past Friday. We played at Yardbirds in Grimsby. The crowd, it was a great crowd, really good crowd.
Hmm.
So the tour got off to a really good start, and then we're basically the tour is over. Like most bands nowadays, there's no point playing midweek, so the tour is basically over the next 5, 6 weekends. So
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
weekend coming, we're in Newcastle and Edinburgh,
Good.
and then we go from there. We're all over the place. So yeah, fingers crossed it continues to go well. But it's we had a really good start to the tour on Friday,
Mm.
so
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah, I mean, talking of touring, I mean, you've toured Europe, of course. You've obviously done the UK, and you've done sold out shows in Japan. So, what's the scene like in Japan, and how does it compare to the UK?
It's completely different, and
Mm.
it's one of those places that I think every rock band wants to go to Japan. You know what I mean? It's one of those places. It's a dream come true sort of place, and
Mm.
we've actually been twice. We went in 2019, and then we went just this past December. And the fans over there are just the most diehard fans you'll ever meet in your life.
Yeah,
And for a band like us, it's very Japan. The Japanese people love the style of music that we play. I mean, it's our
yeah,
biggest market by a long way. That is,
mm,
when we look at our
yeah,
kind of figures, sales figures, Japan is where we have the biggest success, really. And what's great about it as well is, as you and it's kind of strange as well, because when you go to Japan for the first time, you don't realize that nobody speaks English over there.
mm,
And it's luckily we had a translator with us. But if you didn't have a translator, you would be completely screwed because nobody speaks any English. But then you get
Yeah.
up on stage and everybody's singing every single word to every single song in the set list, and you think this is bizarre. And then you meet them
Yeah.
afterwards, and beyond saying hello, there's just a complete language barrier, so that is crazy in itself. And then you meet them afterwards, and we did a meet and greet before each gig, and they would stand in line with just bags of like gifts for each band member, but they'd be personalized gifts. So we'd all have they made like little Japanese dolls of us each, and
Oh,
um, and they would do stuff like bearing in mind these are people that we'd never met, but they do some serious research on each band member. Like for example, they found out that my favorite band's Kiss, so I got a load of Kiss related presents. The guitar player is really into computer games and Sonic games and stuff like that. So he got those gifts. So we end up going home. Luckily, we sold out all our merch because we needed those suitcases to take all our gifts back home. So,
yeah.
but they're just so diehard, and it's kind of we
Yeah.
do have those fans over here in England and
Mm-hmm.
Europe, but they kind of take it to the next extreme. There's a reason, people fans love going to Japan, and you're just really made to feel almost like royalty over there. Everywhere you go in the street, people are stopping, wanting pictures and autographs and stuff, and that certainly doesn't happen over here. You know what I mean?
No, it
Yeah,
doesn't, does it? It sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. Okay,
yeah, it
so
was.
when you're playing live then, Rob, what's your favourite song to play live and why? What's it mean to you?
Ooh, God, that's a good question. It's a really tricky question to answer because we're actually on this tour. We're doing our longest ever set. We're doing
Yeah.
18 songs, which is a long set.
Mm.
Um, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. There's a song off the new album which is one of my favorite Midnight City songs, which was it was a released as a single video a few months ago called Hardest Heart to Break. I really like
Okay.
that one. God, there's so many. I really like the song Can't Wait for the Nights. Uh, I don't know. I mean, off the top of my head, probably I would actually say we got a song off the first album called We Belong, which is the first track off the
You
first
belong.
album that we're kind of finishing our set with.
Yeah.
And that's one of those songs that just it kind of sums up what Midnight
Yeah.
City is about, really. So I mean, if you ask me this question tomorrow, I'll probably give you a completely different answer. But off the top of my head, I'd probably say We Belong is kind of like just because it's such a sort of like almost like an anthem, really, So I'd probably pick that one.
But you know what? I'm going to play that song this weekend just for you, Rob.
Oh, that's
I will
great, Phil.
dedicate it
Thanks,
to you
mate.
personally. Yeah. 2
Amazing.
p.m. Yeah,
Awesome.
Catman's Rocks goes out at 2 p.m. every Sunday on Voodoo Radio Online. Tune in and pair it up loud.
Yeah, that's a
So,
good plug there.
not bad, is it? It's as good
Yeah.
as it gets. Okay, then. So, who's the sensible one in Midnight City, and who's the biggest wind-up merchant or joke?
Oh God, you're gonna get me in trouble here. The most the most sensible guy is definitely Sean, the keyboard player,
Aye.
Sean Charbet, who's he's very down to earth. He's
Mm.
very calm. Nothing ever bothers him at all.
Yeah.
He's just kind of like on one level, and
Yeah.
so he's probably the kind of the calmest kind of.
Most keyboard players are like that, aren't
I think so. I think it's a keyboard
they? Yeah.
player thing. And
Yeah.
what was the other one? What was the other
Who's
question?
the biggest wind-up merchant, the biggest joker?
The biggest joke is definitely Miles Meakin, our guitar player, who's just I mean, I've never met anybody like Miles. Miles is just they broke the mold when they made Miles, in a good way. He's almost like
Yeah.
an excitable like cartoon character, and he's just constantly. I mean, the stuff he comes out with is brilliant, and he's actually really good with. Sometimes when you're on the road and you're all a bit tired, you're all a bit cranky. He's the guy that starts just coming out with the most ridiculous things and getting everybody cracking up with laughter. So he's great to have around. He's a good dude.
Yeah. Oh, the world needs more people like that. So, you got any funny stories to tell of life out on the road? Any Spinal Tap moments or?
Oh God. I think not nothing touch. I'm going to touch wood here actually because we don't want anything wrong, anything going wrong. But one thing that happens quite a lot is, which is very much of the kind of the Spinal Tap sort of theme you were talking about, is getting lost trying to find the stage. That's happened to me many times, where I will be, it's mainly me. I've got no sense of direction whatsoever.
Mm,
So I can't remember which venue we were in. Actually, the corporation's a bit. If you've never been to the corporation
yes.
before,
I'm
that
there regular. That's where I put my own festival on there, Steel Post Festival.
oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean that can be a bit of, if it's, I mean, I've obviously been playing there for years, but I remember the first time I went there, I got lost. But there was one gig,
Easy
I
done.
think yeah. There was one gig last year. I can't remember where it was. And the guys, because I always when the opening band's finished, the rest of the guys sort of like go down and get their stuff, get their gear sorted. And I'm always the last one to go to the stage. And I could not find the stage at all. So I ended up having to ring the promoter and said, you've got to come and find me. I can't, and they were just literally about to start the intro tape, and I was still in my dressing room, like freaking out, thinking, "How the hell do I get to the stage?" So that's happened on more than one occasion.
Yeah.
Put it that
I've
way.
I've seen that happen to bands at the O2 in Sheffield as well, because that's God,
That's
it's like
another one.
labyrinth. It's like
Every,
labyrinth in there.
it is, and everything looks the same. All the corridors look the same. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, who's on your own personal playlist these days, then, Rob? Who do you listen to?
Um, it's a good question. You know what? The new stuff, I can't find anything new good to listen to. And it's not just me just thinking, oh, unless it's from this era and this genre, then I'm not going to listen to it. But I genuinely just don't hear. I mean, there's a million bands out there at the minute. There's probably more bands than there's ever been, but I don't really
Mm,
hear a lot of stuff that really floats my boat, really. So. I just listened to a lot of the stuff that I grew up on, really, like Kiss,
mm, yeah.
um, all the stuff that Midnight, the influences on Midnight
Mhm,
City, Def
mhm.
Leppard,
Yeah, yeah,
early
yeah.
early Bon Jovi, Poison, Warrant, White
Hmm.
Lion, um, all that kind of stuff. And then I actually
Yeah.
also listened to a lot, believe it or not, I listened to a lot of pop music as well, which I know
Hmm.
might surprise some people. But if you listen to some of the Midnight City songs, um, there's a lot of like pop in there. It's like
Mm,
all the
mm.
bands that I grew up on, like a band like Danger Danger or Warrant or Poison.
Yeah,
They were
yeah,
they
yeah.
were rock bands, but there was a lot of pop in, a lot
Mm,
of pop kind of music in there as well. So I listen to a lot of that stuff as well, because to
yeah.
me it's all about trying to find really melodic, catchy songs, and I
Mm,
don't hear a lot of that in kind of modern day rock music at the minute.
yeah.
So I might be missing out. I don't know, but yeah, I tend to just listen to my oldest stuff really.
Yeah. I mean, I always said there's only two types of music, Rob. There's music you don't like and there's music you do like. And I think
Exactly.
you just kind of opened up there what Midnight City are all about and what makes you unique. Because, as you rightly said, there aren't many bands that are carrying on that 80s sound these days.
No.
No, not many new bands. Uh,
No, I mean,
but
we're especially in the UK. I mean, there's nobody doing what we're doing. We're the only band doing this style of music, so we kind of
yeah.
do stand out like a sore thumb,
Mm, mm,
because there's nobody. There's like I said, there's so many rock bands, and most of them fit into that sort of like the classic rock
yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah,
of, which
yeah.
we're not really a part of that scene at all because we don't sound
Uh,
like those kind of
yeah,
British blues
yeah,
rock sort of
yeah,
bands
yeah.
really. So
Yeah, I mean, like yourself, I was brought up on that music. In fact, earlier music. I mean, I go back to the 70s. First band I saw live with Judas Priest and,
yeah,
White Snake and all that. And going into the 80s, and I guess we were listening to the same sort of music, you and me. But
yeah,
I like
definitely.
but I do like the old stuff, and I'm also a massive fan of the new stuff as well. And the new
Hmm.
stuff is pretty much what my show's all about. But there we
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Okay, my next question. Hang on, I've got my list. I've got my list. Quick fire question: beer, lager, or spirits?
Lager.
Lager,
Yeah.
lightweight. And
Yeah.
okay, so you might have just answered the next question, really. So when you're playing a headlining gig and that, what's your dream? What would be your dream rider?
Oh, Dream Rider. Very simple, really. Yeah. I mean, this will all have to be after the gig though, because we all sort of are we're very professional and we don't drink before we play or anything like that.
Uh-huh.
Which is very, very boring, I know, but it's yeah, we leave all that till afterwards. But they definitely have to be, plenty of beer on there. Uh,
Yeah.
beer, wine,
Wine.
some yeah, I don't mind the odd glass of
I've not been
wine.
asked for wine yet by bands.
Yeah, yeah, I don't mind have some
Yeah,
wine. The keyboard player likes wine as well.
yeah. Got
Uh,
one band
pe
playing next year. All he wants is tea.
there you go. See, whatever floats your boat, innit, Phil?
Yeah,
But in terms of
he's a
food and
lovely lad,
stuff,
by the way.
oh, okay, okay. I love pizza, so plenty of
Pizza.
pizza. That's it. We're not for and that's about it. But before we go on, like a ton of like I drink like gallons of water, so that's again very boring. But yeah, but easily pleased, Phil. To be honest with you, just
Yeah, yeah.
just beer and pizza, really.
Do you like pineapple on your pizza?
No, I do not. No, no, no. It's
Yeah,
that's kind of wrong, isn't it? Yeah, that's another good
yeah,
question.
yeah. I'm with you on that one, actually. I'm
Yeah.
with you on that. Then. So, if you was the interviewer now, doing an interview, who would you most like to interview and why?
Um. Ooh, that's a good question. I would say Paul Stanley. Because he's like
Ooh, that's a
one of
good
my
choice.
idols. Yeah, and I just like to just actually he would be I would be interviewing him for about 6 hours because I would have about 700 questions that I would want to ask
Yeah.
him. But I'd love to. I was lucky enough to meet Paul Stanley actually when
Okay.
years ago when I was in Tiger Tales. We
Yeah.
played the
Yeah.
Kiss Crew, which was 10 years ago. Unbelievable! I can't believe it's 10 years ago, but it was
Mm-hmm,
2014,
mm-hmm.
and got to meet the guys in Kiss, and I had a quick chat
Wow.
with Paul Stanley. But I would love to like do something like this and just I just want to
Yeah.
know all the
Yeah.
nerdy
Yeah.
Kiss
Yeah.
questions.
Oh, I'm with you on that. Ooh, I'd love to interview him. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll have to see if there's some contact I can get hold of. I don't know anybody connected
it,
to them, but that would be awesome. That would be
yeah,
awesome.
it would.
So you might have just answered my next question then. Is there any artist or band that you'd love to collaborate with? And for what reason?
Yeah, I mean, I, someone who would actually absolutely love to collaborate with songwriting wise is my favorite songwriter of all time, guy called Desmond Child, who I'm sure you're aware of.
Yeah.
Wrote all the any massive hit from the 80s. He wrote it. And like he as a songwriter, he's my biggest influence, and there's
Mm-hmm.
definitely little bits here and there. I've actually started writing songs for what will be the next Midnight City album, and there's some real Desmond Child style songs in there. But I think, if I could sit down and write a song with him, that would be incredible.
Oh, yeah. That I'd like
Yeah,
to hear.
I think we come up with some pretty damn good songs. You know what I mean?
I
So
think you would. I think you
yeah.
would.
Yeah, thanks.
Uh-huh. All right. So when you're away from Midnight City, then what do you get up to? Hobbies, interests.
You know what, mate? I'm actually quite I'm actually quite boring. Um, what do
Most
I
people say
do?
that.
Yeah, because I think what it is, music takes up such a big amount of my time, and it's
Yeah.
not just it's not that we, I mean, we play it quite a lot, but it's not that we're playing it every week of the year. But it's all this other stuff that goes on behind the scenes, you know, the
Yeah.
you know, it's not like the old days where you had a record label and you had management and all you had to do was basically show up and play the show, you know, everything, you know, for example, this tour, I mean, I've booked the entire tour.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have to organize hotels, I have to book this, book that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a
Yeah.
million jobs, and it takes up so much time. And then I also
Mm.
do, you know, I have a tribute band that I do on the side. I do like acoustic gigs. So when I'm not doing music, quite like a quiet life. So I I like I like, you know, I go out running quite a lot, try and keep as relatively fit if I can. Um, I like going to my local pub, which completely contradicts that.
Yeah, that's
Um,
my favourite hobby too.
yeah, I love going to the pub, you know. But that's about it. I mean, I actually, you know, read a lot. This is so rock and roll, mate. You know what I mean? If you'd asked me that question when I was like 25, I could give you some proper juicy answers. But those days are gone, mate. You know what I
Yes,
mean?
we all get old, mate. We all get old.
The girls and the booze and
Yeah,
all the rest of it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And almost 60 years on, this is what it does to you. Well,
Yeah.
Rob, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. Wish you nothing but good luck with the tour, and really looking forward to that next album.
Oh, thanks, Phil. Really appreciate it, mate.
Thank you so much. You take good care.
You too, buddy.